Good morning. And it is indeed a good morning. May not be bright and sunny outside, but it certainly is in here with all the lights on and you. No more chemo tips. I seem to be feeling just fine. I'm using everything I've recommended over the last couple of weeks. It's been about 9. And they work. If I take my Beano and Pepsid, I had fried chicken over the weekend. And boy, was that a treat. I was actually salivating for it. I haven't had it in such a long time. So, meditation, simple things that you can do for yourself, simple creams that you know work. That seems to be the trick. And I'm feeling quite fine, thank you. And I'd like everyone to feel as well as I do right now, because it's a glorious feeling to get a good night's rest and to be able to wake up and feel no stress. Though we've got stress in our world, for sure. We got folks who are busy telling us what we should or what we shouldn't do. What we should be doing is listening to our hearts and what's good for us and our people and our children and our community. That's what we should be doing. There's an awesome bill in Congress right now, and it's good for all of us. I didn't realize it. PreK, 3 and 4-year-olds. It only exists in 7 states and the District of Columbia. What a tragedy. Because education is the equalizer of all people. Education is what gives everyone the leg up. Of course, we've got certain built-in deterrents in our country, and that we're going to have to overcome. But they're not insurmountable. We've allowed antitrust to just disappear. And so we've got 3 or 4 companies in every single industry, and they control the narrative of who works, who doesn't work, and also our pricing. Those high prices that we're seeing, that inflation that everyone's talking about, well, it's temporary. It only exists as long as Congress refuses to make antitrust enforcement. Because you bet there's collusion. We only have one airline company. That's Boeing. We got 2 major companies doing Coca-Cola. We got a couple of companies doing what? Entertainment, streaming, social media, you name it. We've got giants, and giants can raise prices. People were smart, and we don't tend to be, as a race, very clever, because we seem to fall into the same holes over and over again, metaphorically. And it's hard to stop because it becomes a habit. But we got a choice. The choice is to recognize that the hole is there and to avoid it. And that's our choice. Big government has not been bad for a lot of people. It's a myth that says big government shouldn't exist. It existed under FDR and got us out of the Depression and restored our land so that we didn't have the droughts that we had. FDR was clever enough to send people to the Sahara and the Gobi Desert to find out what are the specific conditions that cause these deserts so that we didn't have it here. All our major building in the national parks happened then. It's kind of time that we expanded our park system, which would be good for America and good for the climate because it would be less carbon emissions emitted with more parkland. Even if we did have tourism, we can contain it. We can only issue just so many permits to come into the park, and we can have shuttles taking folks from wherever the parking lot is to the main lodges or whatever facilities are available. So we can control our carbon footprint pretty easily if we had the will. Just like if we pass these PreK and other infrastructure improvements into our country, it'll get rid of inflation in a nanosecond. Because with PreK, giving education to 3 and 4-year-olds, we'd have to have more teachers. There'd have to be federal guidelines for who can teach and who can train our children, because it is a sacred responsibility. Not only do we want them to have socialization, but we also want them to have a lesson in civics and unity, and one program does indeed fit all. Why do you think the Scandinavians do it? It presents a love of country, and that's what it's all about. We don't need 50 states with 50 fiefdoms. What we need is one union under God, and that's what we're striving for. Sure, you want to have a state narrative, that's okay, but it doesn't belong in PreK for 3 and 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds. You can do that on the debating level and analytics when kids are older and able to form their own choices, not when they're malleable. And the government is funding it 90%. 10% is only the state's responsibility, just like expanded Medicaid would have been for all. Government was funding it 90%. To not give Medicaid to all the people and to promote death and sickness over a vaccine. This is a tragedy in our country. We don't need wars when we're fighting COVID globally because the anti-vaxxers are so powerful. If mandates had come in earlier, we wouldn't be in this predicament because nobody would have a choice. You either get vaccinated or, like in the case of Singapore, you get so fined heavily you can't exist in society or they'll lock you up. Well, it might be draconian, but it's better than perpetrating death. Better to live and to have a chance at doing better with our lives than to be embraced by a draconian will and misinformation. Certainly seems that way to me. I'd rather be alive with no pain, a lot of support, and that's what I've been getting. And I am thankful, so thankful for everyone who has wished me well. It's kept me going. There's so much in our world, and it's all about money and greed that leads us astray. Thank God people are wising up. Why do you think people are not going to work? They're not going to work because they don't want the same conditions as usual. They want a better life, and they can have it. With a change in the laws of the NLRB, we'd have real fundamental change, and that's on the congressional level. It was done under George Bush. by Elaine Chao when she degraded all of the labor laws, and it can be reversed back to where it's a better way of life for labor, so they don't have to struggle to be unionized and organized and beg for benefits or beg for restroom breaks or beg for anything that is a decent thing to do, like have a glass of water when it's 105 degrees in the shade. No, sirree. The middle class doesn't have to be squeezed forever, nor do the poor people. Nor do we need toxic waste and pollution in our backyards. We can get away from it when we get away from fossil fuels. There will be assets in the ground, and that's where they belong. Because we can't afford to have penguins who should be in Antarctica washing up in New Zealand. No, sirree. We need clean energy, and we can do it with smaller industrial-sized packets of nuclear energy, and I'm hoping for nuclear fusion. I like the idea of not using any degradable isotopes. I don't want toxic waste, and I don't want nuclear power plants built on major fault lines or mudslides or anything else that puts people at risk. I want it safe. Safe so that we can pursue a life that has purpose, meaning, and community and family and us at the center. That's what it's all about, right? Living life well. What do they say? Living well is the best revenge. And truly, it really is. You don't have to cast spells on other people. You don't have to make anyone else's life miserable. All you have to do is live, and live as if there's no other competition in the world. Be inventive. Be creative. Think what we can do for our country. And don't listen to the naysayers. Once the Biden package is actually passed, guess what? Inflation, that's going to go away because there's going to be a lot of construction. And if they don't crack down on antitrust, somebody ought to. We don't need 4 pharmaceutical companies either having a lock on all of our drugs. We need that competition. When I was in the flooring business, there were 200 carpeting and flooring companies in America, in the South. When I left the flooring business, there were about 5. That was it. You don't think they control prices? They do. Even in my dad's industry, the flooring industry, he was a union shop. He used to tell me about how every Friday he would meet with his competitors, and everyone knew what everyone else was doing. Just look on the street corners when you see all those gasoline stations within a penny of each other. You think there's no collusion? Of course there is collusion. Otherwise, you'd see better pricing. Now we got to rely on coupons to do it. But there are coupons out there. And I've put on my Twitter feed at Grandma J. Silver where you can find those coupons and those comparison shopping apps that may make your life easier in the short run. But rest assured, inflation is not here to stay. Once we get major infrastructure going, once we get major PreK going, and all the other programs that help people, we don't have to worry about inflation because there's going to be a lot of work for everyone. And I'm betting on our future. So, like I always say, the future is bright. Don't get the future you think you need. Ask for the future you know you want, and that will make your life better. And really, don't ask for the future. Ask for it now. Because we're living every day as a special day, right? Every day is a given. Every day is a day that we can thank God and be grateful for whatever comes ahead. God bless you all, and thank you for listening. Have a blessed day. Bye now. See you next week.